Okay, we're going to start pretty quick today with an advanced topics of using Publisher 3D and Pages 3D. This is the second part of a little series here we're doing on advanced topics. We tried to fit it all in last week, but there was a lot of information, so we pushed it to this week. This recording, I'm recording this, so this will be available online. So if you need to get a link to that, let me know and request that, and I'll send over the link. We don't put those publicly on the website at this time yet. So I guess we'll just go ahead and get started. Most of the session today will be working with tools that are mostly unique to Pages 3D. Last week we worked in Publisher 3D, but pretty much everything that we did last week is something that could be done with Pages 3D too, and has usefulness in that product as well. In contrast, this week we'll be working with mostly tools and functionality that's only found in the Pages 3D product. So I get a lot of questions about what's the difference between the two products. One thing to do is to just pay attention on this webinar and realize that these are only found in Pages 3D. The verbal answer to that, of course, is Publisher 3D is used for making images and movies like bitmap files, vector graphics, and AVI or Flash movies. And Pages 3D is used to create final documents, like a printed document, for example, or a PDF file that includes text, tables, graphics, etc. So we'll get started right off the bat here. I guess this is a better screen to talk about the two different products. Both of the products are used to take 3D and then generate information, or to use it for communication. Neither product requires that you have a seat of CAD software, so you can bring in all the 3D and metadata and everything without CAD software and then leverage that to create your final documents. Being an advanced topic, I know I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Many of you guys are up to speed on the difference between the products, or which product you're kind of keying in on. So I'm going to jump pretty much right into the demo today. We did have 3 previous demos. I just want to tell you about them before, in case you're jumping in to a more advanced one than you're ready for. I'd encourage you to go ahead and sit in anyway. But there's a Publisher 3D webinar that's online. Well, it's actually a movie that I can make available to you. Let me know. I'll send a follow-up. You can reply to that and ask for the link to the movies. There's a Pages 3D movie that's available. And then of course, the part 1 advanced topics from last week. So today, our itinerary looks something like this. We're going to go through the project tree. We're going to show how all the information that you work with on your 3D can be viewed from a tree standpoint, showing the different data structures built into it. We're then going to create a document page that's going to use that metadata from some of these on the document page. We're going to then add some interactivity to that page, buttons, some tables, things that will allow you to create an interactive document. And then we may go and drag a parts list out onto the table as well, onto the page as well, and we'll create kind of a one-page version of a document. The next steps we'll do is we'll go through the creation of a template, and then we will make more of a printed document using the same information, but we'll make a template that will allow us to quickly generate multiple pages of the instruction set that we're going to be working with. And then we'll show how smart template technology can be used for that. And then the final 2 things that we'll do, and we'll definitely work to keep this under an hour, I think we will be able to today, is link text boxes. It's a new capability in 2011, and I'll show you how you can work with that. And then updating entire documents when your 3D CAD changes. We can discuss that a little bit. All right, so let's jump right over to Pages. As we go here, feel free to enter questions into the box there. I'll either, depending on how it fits, I'll either answer those on the fly or following the presentation. And if they're very specific to your needs, we'll talk about those offline. Okay, so now you should see Pages 3D, the get started screen there. What we're going to do today is quickly just do a new document, and we end up starting from a blank page here. So what I want to do at the very beginning is import a 3D model. Now, instead of importing a SolidWorks or a Pro E or whatever you want to usually directly, we're going to leverage something we've already worked on. We're going to use this power supply QSM. This is a QuadraSpace model. This was saved out of Publisher or exported out of Pages. And what it's going to have is some exploded views and illustrations and an assembly that's already ready to go. So these topics have been covered in other videos, so I don't want to rework all that. So when it comes in, we have a 3D view that we can position on our document page. So let's just position it such like this. And the first thing I want to do is explore the project tree so that we can see what's in this file, what's already been created for us at this point. So let's bring up our project panel. That would be from Home, Project right here, and we're going to hit this little extended groups icon, and it'll bring up our project panel. From the project panel, you can see we now have a one-page document, and then here's the model that we just imported. And so let's take a look here into the structure of that model. First thing we'll look at is the storyboard. There's already a storyboard been created. It's in assembly instructions. So these were all created in Publisher and likely were used to generate images or a movie. So let's take a quick look at these. From the project tree, you can always drag onto the document page. If you drag onto a view, so if I drag front plate, that's what this one is. If I drag back plate onto the view, it will change it to be that illustration. So I can quickly step through these and view the different illustrations that we have in this set here by just dragging it. If I actually drag, for example, fan screws not onto the view, you can see I'm dragging it onto the page here, it will actually create a 3D view, another view for me. So then you can position that differently on the page, if you will. But we don't really need that on this one, so I'm just going to delete it. Some other things that you can do with the tree, if we go down into configurations, we'll notice that there's two configurations already created here. Again, these were created in a different session. So here's a master configuration. There's a parts list for that master configuration. Those are all the parts that are in that configuration. And then the exploded view. There's two exploded views created for that configuration. And then it looks like we had created a circuit board configuration here too. And then there's a parts list, and there's actually a circuit board exploded view here with 5 steps. So the whole tree here, this just describes our entire project, all the work that we've done since we've imported our 3D CAD model. Down at the bottom here is models. There's only one model built into this. If you use the merge model tools, this will start to list multiple models down here. So likely most of your projects are going to have just a single model down there, and then most of your work is going to be done in creating configurations and illustrations and storyboards, and then those are all reflected here. Now, another thing I want to point out, let's go and bring up our metadata panel. Where are you, metadata? Metadata panel. And this here is showing us the metadata assigned. There's a description assigned to this illustration. You can assign metadata to illustrations, steps, exploded view steps, and to parts. In parts, this generally can be assigned in QuadraSpace, or this is metadata that's imported from your CAD tool. And you have to select a single part. This one had multiple parts selected, so let's see. Single part, and it will show you the metadata for this. And we could add our own fields here as well. Today, we're going to work with the illustration metadata. This was entered in QuadraSpace, and it always is entered in QuadraSpace. And it was pre-entered in Publisher in this case. Let's go ahead and rearrange our desktop a little bit here. We have the ribbon layout here, and there's some things that you can do with the interface to set it up like you like. Right now we have 2 tabs over here, but what I want to do is be able to select using this tab, and I want to see the metadata as I select. So I'm going to grab the tab here, and drag around, and you can see these little icons that are telling us if I put it here, that's what's going to show up. So if I put it down here, it's going to be at the bottom. Let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll have to pull this down. And so now I have the user interface set up the way that I wanted for this quick demonstration here. So as I grab and drag this, for example, this illustration, it's showing me that the metadata assigned to that is different. So it has an instruction typed in for every one of these illustrations. And if I wanted to modify that, I could just double click down here and I would be able to modify that by using the keyboard to type in additional instructions or to type in to replace that instruction. And that's how you would set it up initially if these didn't already have instructions. You could also add another field if you wanted. We're just going to work with a description field, but since these are assembly instructions, you might want a field that indicated the tools required or a sign-off that's needed or something there. You could enter that down there. And this is all metadata that's part of the data in the model or in the assigned to the model. And it's not displayed on the document page yet. So the next thing we need to do is to determine how we want to display that information on our document. So let's just close this panel out. And we're going to work on our page a little bit. So I double-clicked the view, and what that did, it's the same as toggling this Edit Page button. If I'm in this mode, you can rotate the view, and if I'm in Edit Page, I'm able to click the view and position it, for example. So let's get ourselves a good little position here. We're going to ultimately, let's go to our layout, and I want to put 3 columns here. And so let's go ahead and fit this into these 3 columns. We're going to ultimately put a bill of materials, I believe, over on this side. And we're going to put a description down here with some buttons to move through the description. So what we're really creating here is an assembly instruction using these assembly steps laid out on a page. And we're going to use one single page that will ultimately have next buttons going through those descriptions that you saw and the animations. So the first step, let's go to our insert. And we want to insert a box down here that will display the metadata. So that's going to be done by taking a illustration text. All of these part text would display selected part information. Illustration text is going to display that metadata that we just reviewed. And step text would display any metadata assigned to actual explode steps. In this case, we're going to illustration text, and then I'm going to drag out a nice box down here. And you can see that it automatically found this 3D view and connected itself to that 3D view. And it said, hey, 3D view, what illustration are you on? And once it determined that, it displayed the textual information or the metadata for that illustration. So there's automatically this auto number and a name assigned to every illustration. And then from the metadata, here's the description field. Now, we don't always want all of these to show up, so let's customize that. So I would select this. I'm going to right-click and do Properties, which will bring up our Properties panel. And from here, let's just turn off those 2. You can see we're now down to just the description. And I don't want to show the field name, so let's turn off some of those other settings. And now when we go back, turning off Edit Page, we have a nice textual-only indication of that step. And going back to our project tree, if I flip through, if I put the backplate one here, you can see that it's modifying the text as I change the illustration that's selected. So selecting that illustration all the way through gives me a different set of text that's been assigned to each illustration. Now, if the ultimate goal is to send this out to reader, we don't want our shop floor or assembly guy down there just pulling off of a tree. We want a nice, real easy interface for him to move between our instruction set. So let's go back to our first instruction. And our next step of this document is we would like to we would like to add some buttons that would allow us to move through that progression. So let's do a little bit of an adjustment here. Let's take our text box, move it down just a touch. And we're going to insert some buttons right here. Let's give ourselves a little more of a, take our grid out a little here so that we have, there we go, so we can nicely place our buttons in there. And to set up buttons, it's really simple. We're going to take any of these shapes, and we're going to make one button and get it kind of how we like it, and then we'll copy and paste it for the others. And our goal is going to be to have a go back to the beginning button here, a previous button, a next button, and a show me the final state button. So let's just take a square here, a rectangle, and let's start out by creating our next button. And we'll put that right there, give it about the right size. And then we will go back to our properties. And what we're going to do is assign an action to this called illustration change. And it brings up our properties for that. And we're going to select the type of change. One way to do this is to select an exact illustration. So it kind of defaults to that. Pick an exact illustration, and it goes to the one named assembled. You can see here, these are the names of the different illustrations. Not what we want to do in this case, though. What we want to do is select a next step, and we're going to work from the assembly instructions storyboard. And then on this transition, we're going to use the transitions that were set up in our storyboard. You can override those by picking glide or whatever have you there. But the storyboard transitions, when you look at a storyboard, those are the boxes that are in between the different illustrations. I'll bring that up in just a second. And just remember, we're going to use the storyboard transitions, and I'll show you where those are in a second here. So when I hit OK, you'll see that it automatically names itself next. If you want to change that, you can easily just go in here and enable the display text and type in your own custom label. By default, it uses the a label that's assigned to the type of action so that you don't get as confused as easy. And we can change some styles here. So let's see, let's just make some nice little light gray buttons. Enable our fill, no line. So we now have just kind of a simple button like that. You could go through and set up with different edges, different button styles, beveled, for example, or ramp 3D, all kinds of different ones based on a different color here too, I guess. Tweak out the color, make it look more button-like if you'd like. I'm kind of a fan myself of just kind of flat buttons. Okay, so we have that button now, and if I go and it should be active, and if I double-click to go back into a more live mode, we have one button here, and as I hit next, it will play the animation and move on to the next illustration in the storyboard. Speaking of the storyboard, let me really quickly here bring it up. So here's the storyboard that came in with us. We created this in a different video, Publisher 3D video. And each of these, between these, are the transitions that is being used because we selected use storyboard transitions. So as you can see, as I click through this, it uses an accelerate to reverse, which means there's two steps to it. It moves the part, and then it moves the camera. And so we now have a document that's set up where we can step through very easily next through our instruction set here until we end up at the final one. And what we have very simply going on here is an animation occurring in the view and the display of any assigned metadata below that. And there's our final assembly there. Assembly is now complete. Okay, so now I'm at the end, and I don't have any buttons left to go back to the beginning, so let's go ahead and finish out the button side of this. Let's take this next button, and we're going to copy it 3 times. And paste, 1, 2, 3. And then let's just get these all organized before we... So there we go. We have some nice 4 buttons there. And let's set these up how we wanted to. This one we wanted to set up as a, instead of next, we're going to set this up as first. So it'll go back to the very first. And instead of using storyboard transitions, we don't want it to play back through the entire movie. We're just going to pop back to that. So let's set this up on no transition. And that'll just, boom, pop back to the beginning of the animation. So they don't have to wait for all the steps. So we'll say OK on that one. On this one, we're going to edit the properties, and instead of next, it's going to be previous. We want to keep the animation, so let's do OK on that. And then again, on this one, let's just pop all the way to the end. Obviously, you can pick how you would like these to be. I'm just setting these up with a little variety. So we're going to last on this one, and we're going to say go all the way there immediately. Okay, so now we've got our document set up here. We have a nice view. We can pop back to the first one by clicking that button, and you can see we're ready to go through our instruction set again by clicking next throughout the playback there. So that's how you can set up a interactive view there. I'm going to go ahead and save this as we continue to work. Advanced Topics 2. And save that as a quadrispace document. It's a single file that includes all this information built in. You just load it up. That quadrispace document can actually be opened with Reader 3D now, and some of them would actually have this instruction set. So let's go ahead and complete out this page of the instructions. The next thing I wanted to do is just add a parts list over here. And this parts list is going to actually display, or it's going to actually select the parts as they're being assembled. It'll highlight them in the parts list. So let's first look at what parts list we have available. I think we might have, all we have is a master one. I think what we really want is to make a custom one real quick. So I'm going to do a new parts list. And what I want is a top level only one. That way the top level only one will allow us to, the circuit board has a lot of parts. I want it all to select together. So let's do top level only, and we'll just make a quick custom one. It has 19 items. The board assembly is what I wanted. That used to break out into about 15 other parts. So let's hit done there. And now let's actually, since we have a parts list, just like the metadata was assigned to the illustrations, but it was not displayed on the document page, we now have a parts list assigned to this model or this configuration, but it's not displayed on the page. So we need to go and insert a display location. So we're going to insert, in this case, you have parts tables. There's other tables too, like an illustration table that would list all these illustrations you see in the storyboard. Step table would list all the steps of your exploded view. So let's make a parts table, and we'll drag that out over here in this area we've left for it. And then when you drag out a parts table, it'll ask you, do you want to interact with the 3D view? In this case, we do want it to. In a printed document, you likely do not want it to, because you'll end up with red highlighted rows and you really just want your table. So in this case, yes, we want it to interact with the 3D view. Which view it asks, and you can see there's a name here, 3D1. And if you look over here, 3D1 matches, so that's the one we want it to look at. And then the parts list, we had the master parts list, and then we had this parts list 1 that we just created, and that's the one we want. So when I hit OK, you can see it gave us a parts list, the one we just created. And what we want to do with that, let's change our font to a little smaller, and let's move those over there. And you can see that it's highlighting automatically the front plate. So it's in sync with this view. And so let's add a couple things here. Let's go to Visual, and let's add a header. We may want to go tweak out something. Instead of saying auto number, we probably want to change that to number and that to QTY for quantity. We can do that by going to our actual parts list here. So let's edit the parts list. Let's edit the column title. Let's just go with number. And let's edit the column title here, and let's go with quantity, QTY. That'll fit a lot better on the space we have there. When we hit done, let's see, adjust this table. Here we go. Let's adjust that a little bit. So we now have a quantity in that, and we wanted to go in, maybe we want a blue header, and then let's go with rows that are kind of real faded and alternating between a couple colors here. There you go, white and gray. And you can tweak out the highlight color. I like it when the highlight color actually matches this, kind of gives another visual clue of what's going on there. So we now have, let's go back to our live mode here. One last thing, I don't want that outline on there. So let's go turn off the line. Insert, line, no line. And there we go. So now we have this full document here. We're on our first step. And as I'm assembling, I go through, I hit next. You can see now it is back plate. I guess the lid's selected. Oh, it's those two pieces right there. The connector, male. There's the parts of the fan. Those are the 4 screws. So you can see how, and you can also do this the other way too. On an interactive document, you're free to go over here and click like board assembly, and it will highlight the board assembly for you there as well, and different objects there. And so we have pretty much a complete interactive document here, rotating through the steps that we have created. So the steps to creating this, the invisible ones that we didn't see in the demo today, was the creation of a exploded view, using that exploded view in Smart Templates to automatically generate the storyboard that you see at the bottom of the screen. And then we added for each of the steps, or each of the illustrations, we added the metadata, and that's what you now see displayed on the page. And then we set up the page layout to display the different information for the process. Now, the page layout side of it is a step that you probably only have to do once. For your first assembly instruction, in this case, creating the page layout the way you would like, you would set it up, and then we would create templates for that. And we'll do that in just a moment. Let's add one last thing to this, and then let's move over, and I want to show how to reuse the same information in a slightly different way. Assembly instructions. Let's say interactive assembly instructions. So we'll give it a little title. Bold. There we go. Okay, so that's pretty much our interactive assembly instructions. I might have a question here. Let's see. Can you assign a function key to the buttons? At this point, you can't, but that's something we could look into addressing. Great suggestion. Thanks. Okay. Let me close out, and we're going to start, and we're going to do some work here. Let me go back real quick to the presentation so you can kind of follow along. All right, what we've done so far is we've talked about the project tree. We've worked with the metadata that existed and got that onto the document page. We added an interactive button and then a parts table, buttons that went through the animations, and a table that was selectable on parts. And then we're going to now we're going to move to creation of templates. There's kind of one in between here that we're going to do, which is more of using the metadata for more of a printed layout, but it kind of crosses the line over to template because we're going to we're going to create a template in order to do that efficiently. Smart template technology is the use of that template to do that efficiently. So those are the next two things we'll do, and then we'll bounce back into here and talk about the last couple demos. All right, so back here, we're going to insert a new page. I'm just going to go ahead and do a quick save again. So we completed that one. And now we're going to, let's go to our project tree. And we're going to do something a little different here. We're going to take and generate a template that we can use to quickly lay out an entire document with our step-by-step process. So we're going to take and put 3 of these steps on this page. So I'm going to take the front plate here. I'm just going to drag that onto the page. This is one way to do this. There's a lot of different ways you can do to create your views. And then we're going to go ahead and take the back plate, drag it over here, and position that one as such. And then we'll take the circuit board here, position it over here. So what our goal is with this document is we're setting up a template, and then we're going to use the Smart Template technology to automatically fill in the template. Again, we would probably only have to do this once, and then you would use the Smart Template technology on any future documents. So let's go ahead and copy this box here. I want to take this. We're going to copy because it already has the properties set up the way we'd like, and we're going to paste it onto this page. Now, this is where it gets you got to do a little thinking here. There's 3 views on this page, so we need to make sure that this text box is displaying the description and the textual information associated with the view above it. Right now, it may be, we'll need to look. So the way you do this is you assign this box using its properties to the right view. So 3D view 2, you can see up here there's a label for that view, 3D 2, 3D 3, 3D 4. So we want to make sure that the box below this one is set for 3D 2, and it is. So once we copy this, probably isn't going to be. It's going to be set for 3D 2 still. We'll paste it twice and place these under different views. So right now what you'll see is all of them are looking at the same view. They're all talking about installing the front plate, and this clearly is not installing the front plate. So what we need to do is set up these final 2 by looking at, let's see, go here. See, it's looking at 3D 2. So we wanted to look at 3D 3, and then on this one, we wanted to look at 3D 4. And now if we go back, you'll see that they're all properly, the text is properly assigned to the 3D view. So that is, if you look at it, we could go through with that process manually. That took 3 of these steps out. We could go through and do that process 3 or 4 more times. But what we really want to do in order to be efficient is to create a template out of this. So I'm going to save my document. And then there's a couple ways to make a template. One is to just create a quick template on the fly. We're going to do that. New page. I already made one here, but we're going to save one. Save. This is a page template. And we'll call it text-view. Put that here too. So we save that off as our custom template. And now we want to use that template. So let's delete this page. We have it saved as a template. We delete that page. And so now what we want to do is use our template. So we go to new page. We're using text view, the one we just saved off. And what we're going to do is insert a view for every illustration. And that's going to take that storyboard. Every illustration in the storyboard, we pick it. Assembly instructions for power supply. That's the storyboard we want. And when we hit finish, what it will take is that template, and it will insert for every, this looks just like the template we made because that's the first 3 steps. But what it did was something a lot more powerful. It actually inserted the rest of the steps into the various pages here. So we have a position the fan all the way through every step-by-step piece of that process. So what we've done is we've created a document that includes the an interactive version on the front page, and then followed by a more printed type set of instructions on the final pages. Now, I'm not meaning to imply that you would in general do both of these together. What I'm really just kind of pointing out is that there's various ways to use the same information. So we used this assembly instruction set of illustrations in order to create a nice interactive one. And then using the smart templates, we were able to use the same information to create a nice printable instruction set. And as you can surely guess, we did a very obvious page layout here. We took 3 views and we have big text and everything. There's nothing keeping you from taking and creating your own template. Maybe you want 6 views on a page. Maybe you want a portrait look. Maybe you want a title up there on every page, page number, those kind of things. There's nothing keeping you from setting up the page template however you feel is best for that, and then saving that off as a template of your own. So that's the smart templates and using a template. Let's go one step further here. I want to do one more thing. I'm going to insert some linked text boxes, and then we're going to save off a different type of template, a document template. So home. We're going to insert a new page. And let's just go and grab a regular old text box. What we're going to demonstrate here is the new feature called linked text boxes. So I will drag out a text box, and I'm going to actually import a document from file. So I'm right-clicking. I'm going to import a document. F2010 projects, power supply, warranty information. Just a doc file. And you can see it brings in the doc file into this text box from Word, and if you look closely, you'll notice that it runs out of room down here. All the text from that Word document does not fit into this one text box. So what we need to do is link this to other text boxes so the text will flow from one to the other. Now this can be done across the same page and across multiple pages of your document. So let's just get started. There's a little plus sign down here, and you'll always have a plus sign when you have overflowing text. Another thing you'll notice is that there's a red outline. If I just select a regular text box without overflowing text, the outline is blue. So that's a big clue for you. One way to link the text is to take and click on this plus sign, and we're going to say insert a linked text box. We're going to actually drag a new one out. If you already have a text box in place, you can just link to it. You'll link this and click it. But we're going to do insert a linked one, and we'll just drag it out here. And so the text now continues onto this one. But if you notice, we're still red. This one's blue, saying it's connected properly now. There's a connection here shown with this link. And this one's red, saying that we still need to drag out another one. So let's do that. Insert a linked text box. And we'll put that over on the final side of this page here. And we've now linked these text boxes across the entire page into a 3-column format. And there's nothing that keeps you from continuing. This was enough for this demonstration, but there's nothing to keep you from continuing over to another page. You just click that arrow or that plus sign again, do an insert a new page, and then drag it right out. So large documents can transfer across multiple pages using the new linked text box functionality. Okay, so now let's talk about document templates. Earlier, we saved off just a page template. So if I go back to home, you'll notice that under my new page, we have that template that we saved off, a page template. Now, to save off a document template, you would actually do a little bit of designing on your document. In general, we would not save off. This is just the same template over and over if you think about it. All these pages that we already used to make our smart template, what we would really do is actually would be to delete all these other views and only save off one of these. It's not going to hurt us to save them all off. It's just going to kind of make a little more of a mess than we want to in our template in general. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's do this. We're going to do a save as this time. And we're going to save off a Quadraspace template. That's the menu to find that. And then we will just say custom templates, AT2, that's fine. And let's give it a name. This is the one for advanced topics demo. And then you give it a little description. This is a demonstration template. Period. Okay, so we will save that. And what that will do, it will take all of these pages in here, and they will be usable as a template. Like I said, it's kind of not smart to save off something after you've done when you have the same layout across all those other pages as a template, but it's not going to hurt anything. So what we have now is we've saved off a template, and if we wanted to use that template for a whole nother project, we would go to this menu and we would say New from Template Now. And you may have seen this. This is all the stock ones up here, but down here there's a custom one. And let's see. We can import that. It should have already imported it. I believe maybe you have to close the program and come back for any templates you save off to show. But let's just import that one. Template with this. Would you like to override it? Yes. Okay, so there's our template. And you can see that all the work we did is now in a template format. And this is what I was saying. There really should only be one of these pages. And we have our text page here. So if we wanted to use that with a whole nother project, we just pick our template, we hit next, we browse. Let's say we want a different model. Let's go with, there's a shock model. If I could find one, it doesn't matter. Let's go with the humidifier here. We'll hit open. And what it'll do is use the same template that we just generated with our next project, so we don't have to rework everything. And this should demonstrate how you see now we have automatically the parts list setting up here. I don't know if this one actually had illustrations. Let's see if we have a storyboard. Yeah, we do. We have something here. Don't know exactly what it is, but you can see that we can go through the storyboard using our next buttons. We already had the animation set up on this one too, so it looks like it's kind of just a quick animation. But the point being, the page layout is not how we don't have to rework that. So all our work would be going into generating our step-by-step process again and adding the text. This one doesn't have any metadata. That's why you're not seeing any descriptive text showing up. Going on to the other pages here too. It's just going to be, well, this is what happens when your templates first come in. You have to, these pages, typically you would just delete them all. And you would use that using smart template technology, not, so let's just delete all these until we get to that text page. And if you wanted to reinsert, okay, so now we have just these two pages. And that new page, we could go through, there's all the different templates we have that were saved with that template packet or that document template. And then we can just select one of these to insert that just the way we did before. We would just pick this. Might as well do it. Doesn't take but a second. Insert a view for every illustration. SolidWorks explode, and then we hit finish. It does the same kind of thing here. So you can see how we don't have to, we get our step-by-step process laid out for us for putting this guy together, and we don't have to go through and do the page layout again. So you can spend a good amount of time setting up the right page layout for you, and then you won't have to do that again. You'll just pop it in and go like this in this case. Okay, how are we doing on time? Pretty good, it looks like. So I have only last one topic, I believe. Let's go back to PowerPoint and make sure. Yes, we've covered all of these. The last thing I want to do is go over updating the documents, maybe in a little more detail than we have in some of the other demos you may have been involved in. So let's go do that, and that we'll call it a wrap on Advanced Topics 2. Okay, let's close this document. Let's go back to the one we were actually working on a little more. Okay, so we have this guy. I'm going to go to, let's go to our last steps on this first page here so I can point out what the difference really is here. Okay, so when I do an update, what you're going to notice, I think one of the main things is that this fan moves over a little bit to the right, closer to the power receptacle, and then these the heat sinks change to a different style. Instead of just slats, they have more of a grid style. So pay attention to that when we do the update. I don't know if there's anything else real significant to this design. So let's see. Illustrate to, so to do an update, we go to configurations. There's an update button right here. Pretty simple process. We click this, and we find the power supply fan to the left. This is a different solid assembly file. This solid assembly has what I said. It's going to have the fan shifted a little bit over here once we do the update. And then these components here will be different. So let's just quickly do the update here. All right, so now that we say done, looks like there's a few color differences on some of the cabling and stuff too. So now we say done, you'll notice we still have our instruction set. These guys here have been replaced, and you can, if you pay a little attention there, you can see that the fan has been moved to this location. Now, let's go back to our first step here. And one thing you'll notice is that this wire is kind of hanging around. Since that fan changed, what we're going to need to do is do a little bit of a manual update here on that one step. Very easy to do. To do that, we need to go back to our model, and then we're going to take a look at this exploded view. Exploded view 1, and let's bring up this editor here. And this will just let us look through the step-by-step process. And what we're doing, let's show all. What we're doing is looking for the step where this component was supposed to move. We'll be able to tell that by that right there. That component right there, I believe, is giving us the key that he needs to be part of that step. Let's go through and make sure, yeah. So what we need to do is go to identify that step. We're now going to edit the step details, and this puts us into edit mode. One way to fix this is to I'm just going to hit Control, and we're going to click on this yellow wire, which will add it to that step. And it should move with the rest of these guys. There we go. I think it just did an update there. And so we've added that to that step, and now that will fix pretty much our whole thing. So that was a new part number, and our exploded view didn't know what to do with that part number, so we had to go manually help it understand that. Now, if none of your part numbers change on an update, you won't have to do any of the manual process like that. So now let's go back. I have a feeling this will all work out pretty good now. So first step, the wire's still there. Next. Actually, you may have to also do one other little step on this too, which would be to hide that, either that or regenerate that. That's right. Yeah, we'll have to go to our storyboard. Let's show it. And we'll need to manually hide that in each step up to that insertion. And we can do that pretty easy too. Edit illustration. And we're going to do a shift hide on each of these. Shift hide. Edit that illustration. So that's a little bit of the work you might have to do on some of the updates here. Now, of course, if you have a very complicated one, the easiest thing might be to just regenerate these scenes using the Smart Template technology, because that would honor the changes to the exploded view there. I believe I got them now. So, okay, so we hit done. Now we've updated this document. So we have first, and we can get our animations here going. At this point, it looks like. But that's how an update process is handled in a more advanced state there. Let's see, I got one question here. Can you have more than one note for a part number at a different step? Can you have more than one note for a part number at a different step? I'm not sure I understand the question. One note for a part number at a different step. Can you have more than one metadata field? If that's the question, then yes, you can have as many metadata fields as you would like for parts or different steps or illustrations. In this example, we've been working with metadata field for illustrations. And in this case, it's only been a description field. Hopefully that answered the question. I think the answer is yes. And if there aren't any other questions, that's pretty much a wrap on the Advanced Topics Part 2. We can go back and do just a quick review and close up, finalize here. So we went through the project tree, how you can drag. Okay, I got a question. I'll get back to that in just a second. How you can drag the different elements onto the page, how you can use metadata, how you can actually show the metadata on a document page, then how you can generate, or not generate, but how you can author a document that has interactive buttons and tables, and then how we used how we created our own template, and then we used smart template technology to leverage that template, and then how we were able to use linked text boxes, which leads to a question: how do you put linked text in different pages? Yeah, I can show that real quick. It's the same. It's pretty much the same as what we did for the initial one. Let's just go and do a blank page real quick. We'll use the same Word file. So we'll just take a text box and let's just put one here. Let's say we just want one column on each page. So we'll import the file again. The Project F 2010 projects, power supply, warranty information. Okay, so we have this text box. If we wanted to insert it on a entirely different page, the same thing we can do is we can click this, insert a linked text box. We can go to Home. We can hit a new page, and that'll insert a blank page. And if you notice, if you look at the mouse icon, it's still in Insert Linked Text Box mode. So we can now drag that out onto the second page, and you can see that our text now is flowing from this page to the second page. And finalizing this out, we still have a red box, so that means we still have overflowed text. And we'll take this and we'll do the same process. Insert a linked text box, new page, drag it out, and that should finish up that text there. So another way to do that is to have text boxes already on the page and just do the link functionality as well. Let's see. Can you create a linked text for a parts table? I believe you can. Let's see. I haven't tried that. I'm pretty sure that you can. Let's see if I got a text parts table. Let's just make a little one here. Power supply master. There we go. Oh, we didn't want the power supply. It's too small. We want the whole thing, right? Oh, well, that's fine. Okay, you can see, let's see, we now have, a red box showing that it's full. We can now click the same little icon here. It looks like it's a little hard to read. It's a little overflowed. I should be able to click it. Am I missing it? Icon's there. Looks like there's a little issue there, but yeah, I mean, you can do that. I can tell. I just am not able to right now. We'll have to look into why I'm not able to click this. The icon's there, but in general, you should be able to do that. there any other questions here? Okay. Well, I don't have any other questions, so I'm going to close it up here. If again, you'll get a follow-up following this sometime this afternoon, and if you have any questions, you can reply to that, or you can just send them to me right now, Brian at quadraspace.com. Okay, there's one last question. Where can you find info on the transition definitions in a storyboard? Yeah, I can send you the link to the Pages3D webinars, one place, and the other is in the reference help. I can show you how to get to that too. You should be able to find information there on it as well. There's the help icon here, and you can click that to bring up the reference help that will allow you to search on storyboards, and there should be a whole topic on storyboards and transitions that you can read about. But I'll also send you the link to the publisher movie that will put more detail on working with those transitions. In fact, just to give you a hint, the transitions are, let's go back to one with a 3D view, are super easy to set up. Let's see. So we have this view. We bring up the storyboard. If I click on this, we go back to the first one. This is the transition. It's right here. You just right-click it, and you pick a transition. Let's do one that's obviously different, like fade. And then you can test it by just left-clicking it, and it will show you how that transition will be seen to a user. You can set timing by clicking duration. You know, maybe you want it to fade over 5 seconds instead of just that 1 second. This will show you how that transition will work as well. So very straightforward on setting it up. Let's change it back to this one, and you can see that we now set it up over 5 seconds to have a nice slow animation between the two. So that's really how to set up the transitions. And then, of course, to set up a transition, you have to have, you know, 2 illustrations to transition between. So hopefully that gets you on the track of it. Pages3D goes into it in more detail, a little better step by step. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Appreciate your time and joining us today. Keep an eye out. We'll definitely have some more webinars coming up. Probably right after Thanksgiving, we'll kick off another one that following Tuesday. So hopefully, hope to see you guys attend the rest of them and keep learning more. So, all right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.